All right, welcome to a new video series, Dominion Down the Ladder. This is inspired by Burning Skull's awesome series, Dominion Up the Ladder. I haven't watched all of those, but all the ones I've watched are videos of Burning Skull winning ladder games. This is going to be a series of me watching myself lose ladder games and commenting on it. I play a lot of ladder games and I lose a lot of ladder games, and tend to sometimes play a lot at once. And compared to tournament games, which you usually are really careful about, and you afterwards you talk to people about them, you read the spec chat, you can learn a lot from those. And maybe I don't learn as much as I should from all the times I lose in just playing ladder games. So that's what this series is about. We're going to, let's look at this board. So we're going to watch me and Irrational E play this donate board, which I think is a board where the strategy, the ideal strategy, is not too different from a baseline donate money. So I have pulled up here Seprix's article with the sort of roadmap for how to do this. And we can compare what we do, at least in the first few turns, to this. So there's some differences here. We've got monument from the sort of baseline with things that matter, like Monument, Wedding, Raider definitely matters. I'm not sure how much other cards matter, but I certainly thought that some of those other cards would matter. But let's see how this goes. So Irrational E,
rebuild.
He ended up having a 5-2, and he donated turn 1. That's something I wasn't expecting, but I actually think that it worked out either equivalent or maybe even better than this baseline here. So
does a turn 1 donate?
By turn 6, he ends up like slightly better than what Seprix has written here, in that he has will have a monument instead of a silver. I will get to a point where which is slightly worse than that. And then I make even worse decisions from there, as we'll see.
Down to 5 coppers.
So let's skip a little bit. I end up opening, let's see here, sorry.
2 coppers. That pays off all my debt, which seems
sorry.
Like
well, at any rate, so Irrational E opened with the turn 1 donate down to 5 coppers and leaves 3 debt. So on his second turn, he was able to buy a Duchess after paying off the debt. And unless he bottom decks that Duchess, that means his turn 3, he will be able to afford a gold. And that, so he has like an extra copper. So yeah, I'll save those comments for just a second from now. I opened Silver Wedding and only drew $4 on turn 3, which is not ideal, but this was me donating from that point, and I'm going to donate down to 2 coppers, gold and silver. Yeah. So this is turn 4 from what I described. And you can see that Irrational E does find the Duchess. And he finds the Duchess and the gold, which is not that unlikely. And so he's going to be able to buy a wedding with no debt. Um, so he's got some extra VP versus Seprix's line here. Of course, this is intended only as a baseline strategy from Seprix's article, but if you look at where we are here after 4 turns, I think that Irrational E is going to donate on turn 5. Let's see.
He has 2 golds.
Let's
Duchess and more junk, so he has to donate again.
He could be even better if he found the gold
So
there.
now he has.
All right, so you'll see he actually donates down to just 2 golds. I think it's interesting to think about where he would be there. Of course, there's more variability because he had more copper, so less chance to draw the important cards. But if he had kept the Duchess and still had the 2 debt, then if you look at turn 5, he would have already donated down to 2 golds and a Duchess, which if you compare to the 2 golds and a silver line, where you're debt-free with 2 golds and a silver going into turn 7 here. He would have been debt-free with the same amount of economy. Oh, no, not debt-free, but so he would have had 2 debt with gold, Duchess right away, and then been able to pay off the 2 debt and buy either another gold or go the direction that you'll see that he will go, which would have been to buy a Raider. So I think that might have been a little bit better for him to keep that Duchess. Of course, it takes up his terminal slot that he would maybe rather use on a monument, but I actually think the monument VP is nice, but this game is pretty fast, and that Raider is really nice. So I think maybe he could have been a little bit faster. But you'll see that with this line, he pays off the debt and gets a monument.
Okay.
So for comparison with whatever I did, here on my turn 5, well, I think I buy a wedding, so can go ahead and watch me buy that. I sure am slow. Okay, so I bought a wedding on turn 5. Over here, you can see that. And so on turn 6, if I were to just donate and pay off debt and trash my 2 coppers, then I would be exactly in line with Seprix's open, just except for with 2 VP. So if there was nothing else going on the board, maybe that would have been fine. And going for something, more mirroring what Irrational E does would have been better. But from this point, E's going to pay off debt and buy the monument. Then he will be looking after turn 6 exactly like Seprix's baseline here, only with a monument instead of silver, like I said. And from there, he's going to get a pair of Raiders, which is a very strong attack in this situation, not surprisingly. I'm going to go a different route, the trade route. I kind of thought that having the extra buy would allow me to do fancier things, including to use rebuild. And build a little bit with nobles, with the idea that rebuild will turn the nobles into provinces later, and that might be a pretty quick way of scoring. I think that that's a little bit too fancy. The trade route is early on just kind of a bad card. And I mean, the buy is okay. I have a couple okay turns, but I also wasn't really anticipating the Raider attack. In the end, I think that the building doesn't really work. so much here. Building slash rebuilding. You can let me know in the comments if you think that rebuild actually has a chance to do something here. But I heard Mick say during one of his commentaries once something in a donate game where he said the words, "I don't think investing in draw is going to pay off," and you have to the threshold in donate games for draw to pay off is pretty high. You need that payload, the alt VP, the attacks, whatever's going to make the game longer, needs to be pretty strong for something that's not money-ish to not be as good as the thing with draw, which is so why is that? I mean, there's this meme about trashing a junk card is like gaining a lab. I think that in donate, that's you're investing in trashing instead of investing in draw, and that kind of is enough, especially when it's all about provinces. This one is not exactly all about provinces, but it's also not like the alt VP is like off the charts either. Yeah. So we can see the different choices that happened here.
Okay, that's a monument.
So here's where I'll do something stupid and probably get my trade route. Hoping to take advantage of the buy. I mean, at least I bottom deck the copper.
Okay, that's pretty good.
So that's where he gets a raider. So he could have been exactly where he was one turn sooner if he had kept the Duchess and not had the monument.
Oh, there's also moat.
Yeah, I decide to try to use moat. So I think I go Noble's moat here. I do succeed in blocking the attack several times. Even with that, I end up way behind once he starts provincing, and I don't province every turn. I'm not really okay. So there he's got the raider pair. And I decide not to put the moat autoplay on. Key tactical decision.
Alright, so that should be 9. Again. So I'm going to want to...
Here I maybe should have thought about something like wedding.
Rebuild is bad.
Wedding estate. I sort of waffle about the rebuild thing and end up going for it, and it doesn't work. I'm pretty slow.
Let's try a monument another way.
So the monument is just ridiculously over-terminaling myself. And you'll see here I draw those 3 terminals together. And I mean, this is just, going to turn 9 on a board like this, you need to be having a better turn than what I'm about to have here. There's just not really any way for that to be okay. And there's no way I should expect to be in this game at this point. So this is just not really thinking ahead there. And I think that, I guess, donate is a good synergy with Raider. I think that playing without Raider was a mistake. I think that Raider was a key card on this board. So yeah, I don't know that we need to see the rest of this. From this point, I think on E's next turn, he actually bought a Nobles, which, in my opinion, maybe he could have just started provincing, but the Nobles is fine. I mean, the thing is, it can just draw your monument dead if you use it for draw. So it's, to me, if you're going to build anymore, that building is actually just maybe like buying another wedding or something, or even another raider to make sure you always get that attack in. But I think he could just safely start provincing and probably just be fine at that point. He's getting some VP from his monument. He's doing great. Yeah, I think that he, in hindsight, I think that the VP he got from the monument maybe was not enough to justify being a turn behind by not keeping the Duchess, which is exactly like, he decided to upgrade his Duchess to a monument, and that cost him exactly 1 turn to be exactly where he was. And I think that the monument VP is probably scoring him. I mean, I guess it depends on how long the game is. If both players are using Raider, maybe the game is a little bit longer, and maybe that monument VP is enough to make up for a whole turn. But I kind of think that this is a board where if you do it just right, you get too far ahead on the provinces for that VP from monument that you would get to be as big of a factor. So I think that's the main mistake that he made. But I made so many mistakes that there was just no way I was going to catch up. I think there's some lines where you try to score multiple provinces in a turn with rebuild, but I mean, you also have to buy. It's just so, you're not gaining. It's too hard to have those gains. I mean, it's almost like if you're going to play with rebuild that you don't donate or you donate much later just to get rid of some copper. And I just don't think that has a chance. So those are my thoughts on this, but I'd love to hear yours, and thanks for watching.